Today we're going to be making some ice cream cones. So we're going to go in with our cone template and we're going to lay it onto a brown piece of felt. We're going to go in with our disappearing ink pen and outline it onto our felt. And then you're going to take the ice cream cone top and also outline that onto the brown felt. Once you have those outlined, go ahead and cut them out. And then we're going to move on to stitching the cone together. So first we're going to match up our edges, and then I take a pin and pin the top together just so that it doesn't move as I'm stitching. And then from there I'm going to go in with my matching thread, and I'm going to go in, push the needle between the two pieces, and then you're going to hide your knot at the end of the thread. And then you're going to go up and over the edge, push your needle through the top piece of the cone, like the other side of the cone, come up between the two pieces, and then run your needle through the hoop and pull tight. This will be the beginning of our blanket stitch. And then from there, what we're going to do is you're going to move your needle over just a little bit, push your needle through both pieces of felt this time, run your needle through your hoop, and then pull tight. You're going to continue to do this blanket stitch along that whole edge of the cone until you get to the very top of the cone. Once you get to the top, we're going to go ahead and push our needle through both pieces of felt, and then you're going to run your needle through your hoop not once but twice, and then pull tight, and then run your needle through the cone and cut off the extra. This will create a knot in the thread and secure all the stitches that you just did. So then we're going to move on to putting polyfill into the cone, and then we're going to need to add some cardstock to the top piece of our cone. So just outline your cardstock and then cut that out, and then once it's cut out, we're going to glue it to the top piece of our cone. This will just make sure that the polyfilm doesn't make it all bumpy looking, that it's nice and flat. And then once you have that glued down, we're going to start securing the top piece to the cone. So to secure the top piece, we're going to take our needle and we're going to push it through the side of the cone, hide your knot at the end of the thread, and then you're going to come up and over that edge, push it through the top piece of the cone, come up between the two pieces, and pull tight. Again, this will be the start of your blanket stitch. You will then move over just a little bit, push it through both pieces of felt this time, run your needle through your hoop, and then pull tight. And you're going to continue to do this stitch along the whole edge of the top of the cone, just connecting the two pieces together. Once you get about halfway closed, you will want to stop those so that we can add more polyfill to our cone before closing it up. So at this point, this is where I'm going to stop, and I'm going to just add more polyfill to the cone, kind of making sure that it's nice and full. And then once I have it nicely stuffed, I will continue to do my blanket stitch, closing up that hole. I will go 2 to 3 stitches past my first initial stitch, and then from there, I'm going to want to secure everything that I just did. So you'll run your needle through your hoop, not once, but twice, pull tight, run your needle through the cone, and then cut off the extra. And then the next step is we're going to be starting to make our ice cream. So for the ice cream, I'm going to go in and do a light pink flavor. You can do chocolate, vanilla, whatever you want. But you're going to take your ice cream template and outline it 5 times on the felt color that you choose. Once you have them outlined, just move forward with cutting them out, and then we will get started with stitching it all together. So first we're going to take 2 pieces and we're going to line up the edges. And then from here, what we're going to do is we're going to start on the outside. So we're going to just push our needle through both pieces of felt. And then we're going to come up over the edge, push your needle through the top piece and come up between the 2 pieces. And then I run my needle through my hoop and then pull tight. Again, this will be the start of your blanket stitch. So then you'll move over just a little bit, push your needle through both pieces of felt again, run your needle through your hoop, and then pull tight. And you will continue this along that whole edge of the ice cream until you get to the top. Now, once I get to the top, I'm going to secure those stitches. So I'm going to run my needle through my hoop not once but twice, pull tight to create that knot in the thread. Now I'm not going to cut off my thread here. I'm going to keep it because I'm going to just continue my stitch to add the 3rd piece. So I'm going to open it up and line up the edges, and I'm going to take my thread and I'm just going to come up and over the edge and push my needle through the new front piece and then come up between the 2 pieces. This will just start a new blanket stitch to go along that side that needs to be connected. Then move over a little bit, push it through both pieces of felt, run your needle through your hoop, pull tight, and you'll continue to do that blanket stitch until you get to the bottom edge. Once you've made it down to the bottom corner where we're wanting to secure everything that we did, so run your needle through both pieces of felt, through your hoop, not once but twice, pull tight, and then this time we're going to cut off the extra. And then from here, this is what it should look like, your 3 pieces, and then we're going to go in and add our 4th piece. So same exact thing that we did for the first step. We're just starting at the bottom corner and working our way up to the top. So we're taking our needle, pushing it through both pieces of felt, pushing it through the top piece, coming up between the 2 pieces. Run your needle through your hoop, pull tight, move over just a little bit, push it through both pieces of felt, run your needle through your hoop, pull tight, and then continue to do that blanket stitch until you get to the top corner of the ice cream. Again, once you get to that top corner, we're going to secure everything that we just did. Run your needle through your hoop, not once but twice, creating a knot in the thread, pull tight. Don't cut off your extra. We're going to go ahead and add our final piece. So match up your edges. And then once you have them matched up, we're going to take our needle, come up and over the edge, push it through the top piece, come up between the 2 pieces, run it through the hoop, pull tight. Move over a little bit, run it through both pieces of felt, run it through your hoop, pull tight. And you're going to continue to do this blanket stitch until you get to that bottom corner. So again, once you get to that bottom corner, run your needle through your hoop, not once but twice, pull tight to create a knot in the thread, cut off your extra. This is what it will look like a little skirt, but we're going to connect the last sides together, which is going to be the same exact thing. So start at the bottom corner. You're going to push your needle through both pieces of felt, then come up and over the edge, push your needle through the front piece, come up between the 2 pieces, push your needle through the hoop, pull tight, move over a little bit, push it through both pieces of felt, run your needle through your hoop, pull tight, and continue to do this blanket stitch along the whole side, connecting the pieces together. Once I get to the top, of course, this is the time to go a couple stitches past my initial stitch and secure everything that we just did. So run your needle through your hoop, not once but twice, pull tight to create a knot in the thread, and then now we can cut off our thread. And now I'm going to turn it inside out so that the seams are nice and flat on the outside. And then we're going to move on to adding polyfill in the bottom of the ice cream. So you want to get the bottom of your ice cream template, and you're going to outline that onto your felt. Once you have that outline, just move on with cutting it out. Once we have it cut out, you're also going to want to add some cardstock to the bottom. This is just to make sure that everything is nice and flat and that the polyfill doesn't make it all bumpy when you go to stitch it all together. So once you have the cardstock cut out, we're going to, of course, glue that to the bottom piece of our ice cream. And then once you have that glued down, we're going to move on with adding polyfill and then stitching the bottom to our ice cream. So go ahead and add the polyfill to our ice cream, and then we're going to lay our bottom piece on top of the polyfill. It's going to be a little tight, so just try to fit it in there as best as you can. And then as you're stitching, you can kind of pull out the edges so that they all line up. So once you have the bottom piece in there, we're going to go ahead and start our stitching. So I take my needle, I'm going to push it to the outside of the ice cream, hide your knot that's at the end of your thread. Then you're going to come up and over the edge, push your needle to the bottom piece of the ice cream, come up between the 2 pieces, and then pull tight. From there, we're going to move over just a little bit, push it through both pieces of felt, run your needle through your hoop and pull tight. And again, you're going to do the same exact thing along the whole edge of the bottom of the ice cream, connecting the 2 pieces together. Once you get about halfway closed, you're going to want to stop, of course, and add more polyfill before closing it all up. So this is where I'm going to stop and add polyfill to it, just making sure that it's nice and stuffed. And then once it is good to go, I will continue my blanket stitch to close up that hole. Again, you will want to go maybe 2 or 3 stitches past your initial stitch before securing everything that you just did, which of course is running your needle through your hoop, not once but twice, pull tight, creating a knot in your thread. Then run your needle through that ice cream and then cut off the extra. Now we're going to move on to the ice cream drip. So you're going to want to take your template and we're going to outline that onto our felt. Once you have that outline, just go ahead and cut it out. This is a little annoying to cut out because there's so many like drips, but just do your best. It doesn't have to be perfect because obviously ice cream drips aren't perfect. But once you have it cut out, we're going to go ahead and start securing it to our ice cream. So now I'm going to go in with my hot glue gun and I'm just placing a little bit of glue along my stitch line and then adding the drip to that edge. You don't want to use a lot of glue. You don't want it seeping over the drip line, but also you don't want to burn your fingers. So I'm going to continue to glue this all the way around my ice cream scoop. Once I get back to the edge, I'm gonna have a little bit that I need to cut. So I'm just cutting it so that the edges match up, and then securing it a little bit more with glue. And there you go. You have your first scoop of ice cream, which now we're going to just easily glue it on top of the cone. So I'm just going to go in with my glue gun and I'm kind of spreading out the drips so that they don't get stuck to the glue, or when I go to connect the cone, they don't get folded underneath the cone. You want to make sure that everything is on the outside of the cone, obviously. But once it's glued, I just attach my cone to it, and then there you go. There is your single scoop ice cream. Now you can stop here. If you just want single scoop, go ahead and be creative and start adding sprinkles to it or whipped cream or whatever you want. This is an example. So this was a single scoop that I just did small squares of felt that I glued on top. You can do that for sprinkles. But if you want to do the single scoop, I'm going to be doing a single scoop for this tutorial as well. So for the double scoop, we're going to do the same exact thing pretty much. You're going to take your ice cream template, but instead of doing 5, you're going to just do 4. So outline 4 onto your felt. And this can be a different color if you want to go a different color like vanilla and chocolate. I'm going to stick with my pink color. You're also going to want to outline your ice cream drip. So make sure to grab that template and then also the bottom of your ice cream, not for the big scoop, but for the little scoop, the double scoop. So once you have those outlined, make sure to cut them out. So we have the 4 pieces of our ice cream, the bottom of our ice cream, and then the ice cream drip. Now we're going to move on with connecting all these pieces together. It's going to be very similar to the single scoop, just we only have 4 pieces instead of 5. So you're going to start with your 2 pieces, match up your edges, push your needle through both pieces of felt, come up and over the edge, push your needle through the front piece, come up between the 2 pieces, run your needle through your hoop, pull tight. Move your needle over just a little bit, push it through both pieces of felt, run your needle through your hoop, pull tight. You're going to continue to do this blanket stitch until you get to the top of the ice cream. Once you get to the top, we want to secure everything that we just did. So run your needle through your hoop, not once but twice. Pull tight to create a knot in the thread, and then we're going to cut off the extra. And then from here, we're going to do the exact same thing. This is what it looks like to the other 2. So do the same thing that you just did. So now we have 2 pieces, okay, and we're going to cut off the extra. And now we're just going to sandwich them together, matching the edges up, and we're going to start on the corner, one corner, and we're just going to do the same exact thing, blanket stitch all the way around. And so this is what it will look like when you're done. You're going to flip it inside out so that the seams are nice and flat. And then from here, we're going to want to add cardstock to the bottom of our ice cream. And then once you have that cut out, we're going to glue it to the bottom, and then we're going to add polyfill to our ice cream. And then we're going to lay our bottom piece on top. It's going to be a little tight, so just kind of push it in there and then pull out the edges as you go and stitch so that they all line up. And then from here, we're going to go in with our needle. We're going to go in between the 2 pieces, push it through this side of the ice cream, hide your knot, that's at the end of your thread. You're going to come up and over the edge, push your needle through the bottom piece of the ice cream, come up between the 2 pieces and pull tight. You're going to then move over a little bit, push it through both pieces of felt, run your needle through your hoop, pull tight, and you're going to continue your blanket stitch along the whole edge of the ice cream until you get about halfway closed, and then again stop so that we can add in our polyfill. So I'm going to stop here, add in my polyfill so that it's nice and stuff. And then once it is good, I'm going to continue my blanket stitch, closing up that hole, go 2 to 3 stitches past my initial stitch, and then you're wanting to secure everything that you just did, which is running your needle through your hoop, not once but twice, pull tight, run it through the ice cream, and then cut off the extra. Now it's time to add the ice cream drip, which you're going to do the same exact thing that you did to the first one. And then of course you're going to have a little bit left over. So we're going to just cut it off and make sure that our edges are lined up. Now that we have our second scoop done, all we're going to do is add glue to the bottom side. Make sure that you push out your drips so that none of them get stuck underneath when you go to glue. But I'm just adding glue to the bottom side, and then I'm going to put that directly on top of our single scoop and then kind of smooth down our drips so that they lay nicely on top. And now it's time to decorate the ice cream. So like I was saying at the beginning, if you want to do sprinkles, you just take a little strip of felt, and I'm just cutting little strips. They don't have to be perfect. And then I will just go in and lay them onto my ice cream. If you have tweezers, I usually will hold them with tweezers and then add glue to them, and it makes it a lot easier. If you're not wanting to do sprinkles and you just want to do whipped cream, you will take your whipped cream template and you will outline that onto white felt. You'll need 5 circles to create 1 whipped cream. So once you have those outlined, we're going to go ahead and cut them out. And then for your whipped cream, we're going to start with 1 circle. We're going to fold it in half like a taco, fold it again so that it's a triangle. And then you're going to lay that directly on top of one of the other circles, making sure that your edges line up. Then we're going to take our needle, come up from the back side, and then you're going to do 2 stitches along the tip of that triangle. So just push it back towards the back side of the whipped cream, come back up. These don't have to be perfect. It's just securing the piece to the bottom circle. Then we're going to take our second circle and do the exact same thing. Fold it like a taco, fold it like a triangle, lay it right next to the other one. We're just kind of building on top of that circle, making sure that the edges line up. And then again, 2 stitches on the tip of that triangle, just securing it. And you're going to do the same exact thing for the third circle and the fourth circle. Once you have that last circle attached, it will look like this. Flip it over, secure everything you just did. Run your needle through the felt, run your needle through the hoop, not once but twice. Pull tight, and then cut off the extra. This will be your whipped cream for the double scoop. I have a whipped cream also for the single scoop, which is a different size. So if you're wanting to add whipped cream, this is what it would look like. You would then take your glue the bottom side and put it right on top. So for example, this is the whipped cream on top. This is another one that I did with a different strawberry on bottom, vanilla on top. But I'm going to also teach you how to do a cherry in this tutorial as well. This is what the sprinkles look like if you want to add sprinkles to it. Again, different flavors, just different options. So moving on to the cherry, you're going to take your cherry template. You're going to outline that onto your red felt. I go in with a chalk marker with my red because you can't see the disappearing ink pin on it. But once you have that outlined, go ahead and cut it out. And then from here, we're going to take our needle and thread and we're going to start on the inside and we're going to just zig in and out of the felt. I heard someone call it a dolphin stitch. You're just going in and out of the felt all the way along the edge of the circle, kind of like what we do when we're making a felt strawberry. So I do like maybe 5 or 6 stitches in and out, and then I pull it. What it's going to do is it's going to cinch the felt together, kind of like a cinched bag. Once you get back to your first initial stitch, you're going to start to pull it real tight so that it starts to cinch close. But of course, we're going to want to add polyfill to that before we get it completely closed down. Once we have some polyfill in there, we're going to run our needle back through all those little bumps that we just created. So you're going through all those little humps or bumps, and you're just pulling it tighter and tighter as you go. And then if you have a stuffing tool or a stuffing stick, this is a good time to pull it out, because as that hole gets smaller and smaller, it's harder to get polyfill in there. But once you get it kind of closed, I go in with my stuffing tool and I'm going to just stuff it more with polyfill. And I will continue to do that until it gives me a nice round looking, cherry. And then once I get it nice and stuffed, I'm going to secure everything that I just did. So I'm going to run my needle through the felt a little bit of felt, and then I'm going to run my needle through that hoop, not once but twice, pull tight, and then you're going to run your needle through the cherry and then cut off the extra. And now we're going to do the stem of the cherry, which is hard to record, so bear with me. But you're going to take one thread of green and you're going to connect the edges together. So now it looks like it's double thread, so two strands. And then you're going to take one end and you're going to tape it to the table. And then on the other end, you're going to hold it between your thumb and your index finger. And you're going to just start twisting. I'm just showing you how I'm twisting. Twist, twist. But you're going to be at the bottom of your thread, not in the middle, okay? So you're going to twist it until it's nice and tight. And so how you know that is when you bring the thread in, it will start to ravel like this. That's perfect. That's what you want. So once you have it there, you're going to then take the other end out from under the tape. You're going to get a pin that has this little cap on it, and you're going to put that cap right in the middle of the thread like this. So it's just hanging there. It has to be centered in the middle. And then from there, once you have it centered, you're going to bring both ends together so that the pin starts turning and cording the pieces together. Hopefully that makes sense. It's so hard to record cording, but once it's done turning, you're going to take the pin off, and now you have a nice corded thread that's a lot thicker. And so then I'm going to knot one side. I do like a double knot, and then from there I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to thread the cording through it, okay, on the other side. And then from there, I am going to push it through the cherry. Once you have it through the cherry, you're going to take your needle off, and then you're going to do 2 knots on the thread. So this is just securing that thread, but also it makes your stem. So just kind of see how long you want your stem at, and then make your first knot, and then go in and make your second knot. And then from there, once you have it knotted, you can go and take your scissors and cut off the extra. So I will cut off the extra and then cut off the bottom extra, and then there you go, you have a cherry. And then that I will glue directly onto my whipped cream, so it sits nicely in there and secures all the thread and the polyfill, and then put it on my ice cream. So there you go. You made a single or double scoop of ice cream. You can find this template on my Etsy page, which is linked in my bio. I also have pre-made ones all ready to go. Let me know in the comments below if you have any questions, and I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial.